I feel like a lot of you are going to end up not liking me after you hear tonight's review, but I just offer we can't always have the same opinion about things. That wouldn't give us any variety, and variety is the spice of life. So, tonight in movie reviews, I'm going to talk about what I feel has been the biggest disappointment in the horror genre of 2025 to me. Folks, tonight I'm talking weapons. Stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in. Like I mentioned, tonight in movie reviews, I am talking weapons. Now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, no matter where you are tuning in to catch this review at. We got a lot of great horror content up on the channel right now and a lot of really good stuff coming up. It is my birthday week. So at the end of the show, I'm going to tell you about some of the fun stuff I have coming out for y'all here for the rest of the week. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right on into things here. If you haven't seen the trailer for Weapons before, when all but one child from the same classroom mysteriously vanish on the same night at exactly the same time, a community is left questioning who or what is behind their disappearance. And there it is, y'all. That is Weapons. Now, I want to unpack that comment I said at the beginning of the show here that this was my biggest disappointment of 2025. I'm just going to start my review off this way by letting y'all know I did enjoy this movie. I do like weapons. So you do not have to worry that I'm about to sit here and tell you that this is a terrible film. It's going to be at the bottom of movies I've enjoyed this year. I got a lot of stuff in there that I just was not clicking with at all. I'm not going to do any of that. But to elaborate a little bit more here, most of y'all are probably familiar with the filmmaker Zach Cregger, who made Weapons, writer and director, also made a film a few years ago called Barbarian. Give us a physical release. Why haven't we got one yet? Come on. Barbarian was a tremendous horror film. This was not Cregger's debut film, by the way. That was Miss March. But this was a tremendous horror film that managed to completely circumvent everybody's expectations. If you haven't seen it, it's a story about how two people booked the same Airbnb on the same night and hijinks ensue. Now, saying anything else would absolutely be a crime. I would be arrested and taken away from spoiling anything else that you need to know about that film. All I'm going to say to you is don't go and watch anything. Don't ask anybody about it. Go turn on HBO Max and go watch Barbarian right now. Now, hopefully, you'll see the gospel of that and see that Cregger put together a phenomenal horror film that, again, went down one particular pathway and halfway through the film said, screw what you were thinking. This is what's actually at stake here in this film instead, and masterfully crafted a second road for this film to go down. Both roads, excellent. Tremendous, tremendous film. And so expectations undoubtedly were high for what the follow-up film was going to be because Cregger did a lot of interviews and a lot of discussion about his love for the horror genre and some of the things that he wanted to dip his hands into. And years later, here we are with Weapons. So, I want to be clear. Weapons is not a bad film. I just think that if I wanted a follow-up to one of the best horror films I've seen in the past decade, I was expecting something that to me was much stronger, maybe not as easy to interpret the information with, and maybe just as fast-paced as Barbarian felt as well. Now, let's properly dive into Weapons here with it. With this story feels very fairy tale-like. If you've seen the films Cobweb or Antlers in the last 5 years or so, then you kind of are going to have a good idea for what you're getting into with this kind of story. There's a lot of fall vibes coming out here from it. The idea that this soul teacher played by Julia Garner, Miss Gandy, is the main person who's taking an interest in the disappearance of these children. She's really our biggest point of view here for the story. We also get to see one of the parents of one of the children, Archer Graff, played by Josh Brolin, who's our other biggest point of view here in the story as well too. And the idea that these two are coming from completely different angles, trying to find any information at all that can shed some light on where these kids went, why only this one kid is left, and what is truly going on in their town. And the issue that I have here is that I almost felt that once the first 20 minutes or so were passed, then we started getting our hands held throughout the rest of the runtime. It wasn't really subtle with dropping clues and hints that us as the viewer shouldn't be able to interpret that quickly. Like, we're getting it faster than the characters typically are. And I know that's typically a thing when you're watching a movie that surrounds this huge mystery, that if you're really paying attention, you as the viewer are probably going to realize it faster than the characters do. But it was really, really quick this time around, because once you kind of get all the evidence that's flying in about the oddity of these kids disappearing, and you're taking a look at the suspects who could be responsible for it, and you're trying to figure out, is this supernatural? Is this just a crazed person in town? You know, is somebody drinking Kool-Aid, like spiked Kool-Aid, whatever the case is. The issue is that Cregger just doesn't let that marinate long enough. And we get an answer, I feel, very quickly, very earlier on in this story. And that takes away a lot of the joy of trying to go down all these various paths that the film could have set up. And that's something I just used to describe Barbarian, but it's not like I was expecting a complete genre shift like Barbarian ended up doing. It's just that I like to be led on a little bit that, okay, well, maybe it is this parent or this teacher or the principal or this drug addict that's running around the town that truly is responsible for the disappearance of these kids, but you don't allow us the chance to actually even get those thoughts out for longer than a quick minute before you really just start dangling in our face like, yeah, I know you're thinking all this, but what about this? Doesn't this idea seem like that's probably what it's gonna be? And guess what? That's exactly what it is. I just didn't like the hand holding. I expected us to be given more free reign here to kind of figure that all out. Just didn't sit well with me with that. And because of it, everything is just so straightforward. It's a mystery that's not really all that mysterious at all, because we find out the who and the what very quickly. It's the why that we don't actually get a solid answer to either. Like, we can make our own inference from it for sure of what the why for why these kids are gone, but the movie does not actually directly address that. And so it's another reason to where it's like, you told us all this information and then you're not going to give us the last few bits of it that would really make that a complete story. It just felt lacking when it came to it. Now, as for the acting, the cast that Cregger has assembled here is a good one. Julia Garner stars again as Miss Gandy. Josh Brolin is there as one of the concerned parents. You have Alden Ehrenreich playing Garner's character's ex-boyfriend, one of the cops in town that's kind of like keeping an eye on things that are happening. Austin Abrams plays the drug addict in town running around who might have a little bit more information. Benedict Wong's in this, Amy Madigan, Toby Huss. There's a lot of big name players here in this, but again, like I said before, this film mostly belongs to Brolin and Garner. I do think that Austin Abrams gets a real chance to shine in this and has been going around in the outlets lately. He apparently is the only cast member from like the original version of this story that made it to the theatrical version of it. So that's really cool for him to get this kind of role. I loved what he did in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. You might remember he was the jock who was hitting the Scarecrow with the bat at the beginning of the film there. He has a bigger role in it, but I haven't watched that movie in a little bit now. So my exact memories of what his character was doing is, did he turn into the Scarecrow? He might have turned into the Scarecrow in that one, right? Y'all tell me in the comment section. I think his character turned into the Scarecrow, but he's actually going to get to lead Cregger's Resident Evil film that he's going to be doing next, apparently, as well. So that'll be very interesting to see what he's going to do with that role. But the cast is good in this one. They are not the weak links with this at all. I actually thought it was incredibly interesting to see the shift change or the tone change from the way that Miss Gandy and Mr. Graff act in the story, because with an actor like Josh Brolin, and I know the role originally was Pedro Pascal and had to drop out for a number of other projects there, but you see the role that Josh Brolin is playing, And you kind of expect his character to be more in your face, more aggressive, more angry about everything that's going on. Archer is definitely angry, don't get me wrong there, but it almost seems like Miss Gandy is a little bit more enthusiastic about her anger and about the fact that nobody's really addressing any of these issues with the kid, at least that she can see. And it was just kind of fun to see that dynamic change up there between it, to where Julia Garner's playing really the more aggressive, the more, in your face, the one who's going to take action far more quickly to get to the bottom of what's happening here. But it's a great collection of characters. I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a standout amongst the rest here. Austin Abrams is who I was enjoying watching throughout the entire thing. He would be the standout out of anybody, I would say, but it's a good collection of cast here. Now, as for the scares, compared to Barbarian, I will say that Barbarian has more in the way of traditional scares in there. Here with Weapons, I actually thought that a couple of the nightmare sequences that the main characters end up having was far more scarier than anything else that we caught during like the real events of the story itself. That's been a common theme with things I've seen lately. I said that with Together, that some of the dream sequences in that were downright terrifying as well too. And that's the same here with this. I think that Weapons very much sets a very, very grim, and I mean that with two M's, kind of tone for like the horror that we're going to be experiencing. And it's easy to kind of get that fairy tale feeling. Like I said, with movies like Cobweb and Antlers, you can see that in here with Weapons. Like a lot of these shots in there to where the doors are opening and it's just black. We see so much of that throughout the film, and every single time it's very, very unsettling. And I couldn't stop but help but feeling like, man, this just feels like the start of every scary bedtime story that like we would read or get to back in our childhood. And I enjoyed that aspect of it so much. Very good at setting up certain type of atmosphere. But again, overall, the reason why this is the biggest disappointment of 2025 for me is because compared to all the other films that have come out, there have not been that many that I had these grand, lofty expectations for. You know, anything in a franchise, obviously, is going to be up there. Like right now, I think the only one that could probably dethrone this as biggest disappointment is The Conjuring Last Rites, because I did not like the last Conjuring film, and so I'm obviously worried that this one's going to be like that one was as well, too. But based on the highs of Barbarian, I was very much hopeful that this could meet what that film brought or even beat that out, and it didn't do either for me. I think Weapons is very much an enjoyable film, but it's a disappointment just because I set these high expectations for myself. And I know that's my own problem. But again, I'm telling y'all, it's not a bad movie. It just doesn't hit, doesn't check the boxes that I was looking for here on this one. It doesn't feel like, I feel that as an audience, we just were given too much, and maybe it was a fear that we wouldn't be able to stick with it the way that some folks I know didn't get to the second half of Barbarian. I know that for a fact some folks did tune out there with it. I don't see how. That movie is incredible, but I just wish that this would have like held on to me, would have dug its hooks into me the way that Barbarian did, and it just couldn't do that. So that leaves Weapons hitting a 3 out of 5. I am genuinely curious what y'all thought of this one. Let me know that in the comment section. And of course, get subscribed to my link tree at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to be access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio-only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings through the year, my TikTok page for short content including movie reviews, movie news, and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming including Phasmophobia, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of this, y'all. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button no matter where you are tuning in. Again, it is my birthday week, so this week I got reviews coming up for y'all for The Lost Boys and Fright Night, a couple of my absolute favorites that just got done celebrating some anniversaries recently. And we are continuing our coverage of season 1 of Dexter Resurrection as well. You do not want to miss any of that, folks. We got more great stuff coming after that as well too. Hit subscribe, hit follow no matter where you are watching from. But that is it for me tonight, y'all. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.